The first time I pulled a trigger in the silent city, the gun answered with nothing. No recoil, no smoke, no sound, just a mechanical click swallowed by thick air. I understood this place didn't forbid violence, it erased its voice. Guns don't work, screams can't be heard, glass shatters politely. Even a body striking pavement lands like a forgotten coat. The silence isn't absence, but policy. An architecture of hush built into concrete and wiring. Only hitmen are hired here, because when murders look like accidents and accidents make no sound, you need professionals. No witnesses startled by bangs, no neighbors jolted awake. Life proceeds without interruption while someone quietly stops being part of it. I came for precision and discretion, tired of other cities screaming at brutality, sirens, headlines. Weeping families making a spectacle. The silent city promised cleaner math. The silence is not metaphorical. It's enforced, engineered, total. An invisible bell jar. Locals move with serene resignation. Footsteps make no declaration. Conversations happen in expressions, speech dissolving before it burdens another ear. I checked into a hotel. The clerk slid a key across the counter without a word. I watched his lips form welcome, but heard only my own blood. That night I stood by the window overlooking an intersection. Cars collided gently. Drivers inspected damage without shouting, anger absorbed. In a place where violence leaves no sound, it also leaves no outrage. Outrage is the only currency that threatens power. My first contract arrived folded in an envelope. Instructions for a death resembling gravity's indifference. The target, the councilman. He had perfected appearing benevolent while rerouting funds. In any other city, he'd need spectacle. Here, only a balcony and a misplaced step. I followed him for days, observing his confidence in the quiet. When the moment came, I didn't push, I adjusted. A slight interference. He tipped forward with mild surprise, hit the pavement without punctuation. People nearby glanced briefly, then resumed their trajectories. I felt less like a killer, more like a stage hand. This should have comforted me, but it unsettled something that depended on noise. The sound of a life ending, however ugly, is proof. Without that proof, the act feels theoretical, like imagining a murder. I wondered if the city's silence protected the guilty more than the innocent. When nothing is heard, nothing is acknowledged. My second contract was stranger, a woman running a transportation company. Vehicles rarely arrive on time. Drivers reported brake failures. I'd orchestrated a minor traffic incident. On a rain-slicked street, her car would spin with plausible inevitability into a lamppost. The impact looked almost graceful. She slumped forward with no cry. The city absorbed it, converted violence into paperwork. I began to suspect the silence was not natural, but curated. Somewhere beneath the sidewalks, machinery dedicated to swallowing decibels. I found evidence in old subway tunnels, abandoned yet humming faintly. There I met a man who communicated through chalk on walls. He asked why I killed for a city that killed its own voice. I told him I killed because someone would. He wrote, "Only hitmen are hired here." He drew a crude diagram of the city, lines radiating inward to silence. He circled and underlined it until the chalk snapped. I realized he believed the quiet had a source, a heart-pumping absence. If it could be located, it could be interrupted. My third contract tested my loyalty, a journalist investigating the phenomenon I suspected, eliminating him with Samantha. Silence. I followed him through libraries, archives. He pored over blueprints labeled Acoustic Dampening Initiative, frustrated by classified permits. One night, he stood on a rooftop, speaking passionately into a recorder. His words dissolved inches from his lips. The city didn't merely mute violence, it muted dissent. It flattened every spike of emotion into a uniform plane of composure. I was meant to push him, but instead, I stepped into his line of sight. He looked at me without fear. He mouthed something I couldn't hear. I shook my head, pointed toward the subway tunnels, toward the humming beneath. We went down into the undercity. The vibration intensified into a pressure behind the eyes. We found the chamber, a cathedral of machinery, humming with disciplined purpose, panels, coils, vast diaphragms absorbing vibration, converting noise into heat. The journalist stared in awe and horror. Destroying it wouldn't produce a boom, but perhaps sabotage would create a gap. I placed charges, not to explode, but to overload, to force the machine to confront more sound than it could swallow. When the overload began, it manifested as sensation, a tremor in the bones, a tightening in the throat, then, impossibly, a crack. The journalist laughed, and the laugh traveled farther than it should have. Above us, A car alarm shrieked for the first time in decades. Someone screamed, and the scream did not vanish, but lingered, raw and shocking. People froze as if struck by revelation. The charges burned out, the machinery groaned, and the silence faltered. In that falter, the city felt itself, every accident recontextualized, every fall reconsidered. Sirens began to wail uncertainly, rediscovering their purpose. I knew I had rendered myself obsolete in a city that can hear. Gunshots, hitmen are relics of a quieter tyranny. As I climbed back to the surface, the air felt thinner, but honest. The journalist recorded the chaos with a device that finally captured something. A window shattered loudly. People flinched as if waking from anesthesia. The silent city had been anesthetized. Anesthesia always wears off eventually. As authorities scramble, I slipped away, a witness to a transformation. Murders would be heard, accidents questioned, screams answered, perhaps more suffering, but also accountability. Accountability is the loudest thing a city can learn to produce. For the first time, I heard my own footsteps echo, undeniable and real. I did not try to silence them.